Hello, 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 members. It's Seamus, your Whisky Club Director of Whisky, and I am joined by a terrific guest. And this is our first time we're hearing from anyone from the incredible Kanosuke distillery. It's Tats. It's an absolute pleasure to properly meet you. Thank you for joining us tonight.
It's my honor being able to participate in this Whisky Club because Whisky Club is so super famous within the whisky world in Japan as well. So it's my honor. Thanks so much, Dave.
It's an absolute pleasure, and I have to say it's an honor for us as well because this is no small single malt brand, or I should say single pot still as well. This is an incredibly special distillery with an incredible history, and the whiskey in front of us, we will get to it because the thing that's brought us all together is the first official peated release. But I would love to just jump in before we get to any of the whiskey in our glasses. If you could share a little bit about yourself with the members.
So I'm Tatsuya Ishihara, the head of brand advocacy of Kanosuke Distillery. So actually, talking about my career, it's quite irregular, I should say, because I just joined this company about in 2022, so about 3 years ago. But before that, I was a real whiskey geek, and I travel around many whiskey distilleries, like include not just whiskey, rum, gin, tequila, under about 200 now. And from that experience, it was quite unique in my experience. So my boss, Komasa-san, our CEO and founder, said, "Why didn't you join the company?" And I thought it was a great opportunity, so that's why I'm here. But when I joined this company, I was a finance guy. But since I speak a little English and a little knowledge about whiskey, so that's why I got this role now. So that's me.
That's fantastic. And it sounds like you're basically a Whisky Club member. I think we're all a collection of nerds as well. When you were a whiskey nerd before Kanosuke, what were you excited about? What were your favorites?
My favorites. That's quite difficult to answer because I always say the next favorite is my next dram or the next whiskey distillery visit. So that's why. But still, I could say Kanosuke, though I joined this company, Kanosuke is still one of the most fascinating distillery I've ever visited. That's what I'll be talking today.
That's I think exactly why we got excited about it the first time we got to try a little bit of the spirit. And it's not surprising because I think it really comes through in a glass like this. But could you tell our members, because a lot of our members, and actually while I'm on the members, for everyone watching along, please do send in any questions you have. As always, we'll be doing a little giveaway to say thank you for anyone participating, but we have an expert in the room, and please, an expert on Japanese whiskey is someone that's really worth asking questions to. So with your whiskey expertise, please tell us what sets this single malt distillery apart.
So talking about, let's say what's different. So basically, compared to most Japanese whiskey distilleries, yes, most Japanese whiskey try to make Scotch style because their purpose is to make whiskey. Its purpose to make Scotch. But for us, why we started to make whiskey is that we wanted to promote shochu and Kagoshima. Therefore, that's why we started to make whiskey. So that's why most Japanese go for Scotch style. For us, that's why we wanted to show what we could do by using shochu culture. So that's why we make Scotch style single malt, and also we make Irish and bourbon style. That is a Hyoki pot style, and so that's why we a bit different, I should say. Yeah, and that uniqueness is what makes Kanosuke quite different. Exactly, that's one. Yeah.
There's the pot still for any members who were a part of this last year, but. That founding, that's not just been pulled from thin air. The shochu history of the company goes back decades and decades, doesn't it?
Yeah. So we been making sure after incorporating. So we were incorporated in 1883. So over 140 years experience. But before that, we have been making rice shochu. So the god in the local area. So it goes back in 16th century. So we do have some, history to tell actually.
It's incredible, and I'm excited to talk about the peated because obviously some of that DNA is going to pull all the way through. But I mean, this is a distillery that, as far as its whiskey is concerned, kind of started to appear in the mid 2010s. When the distillery was being constructed, what were you taking inspiration of? What was the distillery kind of modeled after?
So basically, basically we wanted to implement shochu ideas as much as possible. So talking about model distillery, it's very difficult to mention. But one interesting factor is that Mr. Komasa, as the founder, his first trip to Scotland and his first whiskey distillery visit was actually Edwardra, the most smallest whiskey distillery at the time. And also, and there's a coincidence that they use worm tubs as well. So shochu uses worm tubs, and whiskey, and we learned that Edwardra, the Scotch whiskey distillery, does use worm tubs. So those are some connection, I should say. Yeah. But so, basically, we'll build it from scratch. Yeah.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and there's a great opportunity there to, I think, educate a little bit, because worm tubs is this quintessential Scottish part. There's going to be some whiskey geeks in the audience that are screaming right now, of course, worm tubs. That explains this incredible texture on the spirit. But for anyone who's not familiar, can you explain the worm tub role that it's playing in whiskey making?
So basically, the common way of condensing the whiskey is it's shell and tubes. Yes, shell and tubes. I think explaining from shell and tubes is going to be faster, because shell and tubes, it's like it's like here you have so many copper tube inside, and the alcohol vapors go in, and there's going to be so much copper contact, which means there's going to be super chemical reactions, which means it's going to be more fruitier, but also it tends to become lighter. But talking about worm tubs, I do it like this. So the alcohol becomes liquid, but the top part, it's not touching, isn't it? So there's going to be less copper contact, which means, talking about, it's not going to be too bright compared to shell and tubes, but there's going to be that texture, those oiliness and fattiness. That is the uniqueness of Kanosuke, and that's the. So apologies, I'm worm tub whiskey lover, so okay, I have to calm down.
I'm excited, and I have to give you a compliment. That is the best way I've ever heard anyone explain the worm tub. So members, if you have any more questions, clearly we can go to a very geeky level here. So please do ask those questions. So we know that the worm tub influence that's come from Edward. We know that a lot of the whiskey making practices are trying to show off the history of casks. Is there anything that those stills were inspired by? Is there anything that you're doing on your spirit cuts that you're trying to emulate a Highland, a Speyside, or are you trying to make something that's quintessentially Japanese?
So talking about the stills, I should say, we got the inspiration not from Scotch. I think we got, I can clearly say that we got the inspiration from a shochu pot still. So the reason I can say that shochu has to be distilled once, but Komasa family, Komasa's Hioki distillery, we have 7 pot stills. So what we have been doing is that we have trying to make many type of distillate by changing the pot still. So to have that idea into whiskey making, what we have done is that we implemented an odd number of pot still with 3 pot stills. So having 3 pot stills, the people tend to say we just do triple distillation, but that's not us. So what we could do, we could play around the combination of distillations. First distillation, one on the wash still. There's a second distillation, you could choose from one on the center and one on the right. And of course, we could have 2 types. You can mix it and make 3 types. And of course, we could do triple distillation. And playing around the combination, we could make 6. So why we want to make 6? Because commercial shochu policies. We wanted to make many type of distillates by using many type of pot stills. So those are the ideas we got. So this, I believe, is super unique compared to. I believe that Scotch is not doing these playing around with combinations.
Oh, completely. I could probably only name one other distillery that's experimenting with it, and that's Loch Lomond, which of course is one of the most
Lord was
experimental
really
Scotch
handsome.
distillery. So
Yeah.
you're in very, very good company. Um, are you taking those different cuts, those different spirit styles, those different approaches to the different whiskey releases? Is this whiskey being made from the ground up different to this whiskey?
So talking about that, basically, talking about cut point, yes.
Mm.
Basically it's all like combination with a heavy type and light type. Yes, well, average will be 68.68% and or to 70%. So basically, cut hasn't changed. Talking about the unpeated, but
Yep.
talking about the peated is something bit different. So
Mm.
peated in the past, when we started making whiskey, yes. So shochu, and so all the staff were shochu guys, and shochu guys didn't like peat at all. So what they did when they figured out the peat was, they started cutting immediately. But on the other hand, but we started to learn that peat influence come at the back end of the middle cut. So from this whiskey, what we have done, we changed the cut point much longer. Let's say, I tend to say in the past, cut point, it was more like a Beaumont. It's a floral peat. But, uh,
Okay.
but yeah, but for us, our concept is mellowland, mellow whiskey. So not floral. We want to have mellow. So that's why
Yeah.
we've changed the cut point. So we took it much longer. So in the past, whiskey, peated whiskey tend to become more like sometimes it's too floral. But now we have this juicy bacon in the back end, and I believe that is due to the change of the cut point, I should say. And I hope
Fantastic.
you.
All right, you've tempted me now. We need to try this whiskey. Tell
Yes.
everyone who's drinking along with us what's gone into this. What are the ages? What's the cask makeup? Tell me about this glass.
Yeah, of course. No. Well, since we are from a shochu company, yes, and we have ex shochu cask, that would be the the main cask. Yes, the ex shochu
Mm.
cask. But also to have some kind of more floral, like a fruitiness, yes, we add some 6-year-old Manzanilla cask. That's giving those kind of current and those kind of berry notes that's coming in at the beginning. But at the latter part, you get those kind of juiciness that's from peat, and also you
Mm.
get those kind of cinnamony note and a bit of apple note, I should say. These are the impact of the ex shochu cask. So
Really
apologies, I'm
interesting.
speaking too much. Please start enjoying. Oh, juicy bacon. I love that, Craig.
Yes.
Cheers.
Mm.
Mm. Mm. Ah.
It's that's such a special spirit style,
Mm.
and
Mm.
it just
Mm.
grows and grows and grows in the back palate. It's mellow and
Yeah.
creamy and just textural, isn't it?
Thank you. So this, of course, this oiliness, that texture always come from worm tubs. But
Mm.
this is a secret story I have for the yeah, participants. Like, so this basically it won't go into the official website, but we had a support from Thompson Brothers.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. So, honestly, so there was a guy called Blunder called Jack. He came to
Yeah.
Japan and he was working with us, and he was learning the whiskey from us, and we learned so much from him. So what we learned from him is that he told us how to dilute the whiskeys. So in the
Mm.
past, when it's a cask strength, when we went down to when we diluted it down to 48, we just did it in one go. We just added water immediately. But he told me that if you add water too much and if you add dilute it in one go, it will break down the molecules of the
Mm.
whiskey in matures. So he told me to dilute it much slower
Mm.
from that. And from after, so of course, we weren't too sure about it, but when we did it, we figured out made it much mellower. So this is the first ever whiskey we have released by using that slow dilution technique. So that's why I think it lingers, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes,
Mm,
absolutely. It's
mm,
an incredibly unique experience, and hearing that Jack from Thompson Bros has been involved isn't surprising at all because Jack is an incredible whiskey maker. But the first thing that anyone in our team said when we first drank this whiskey was
mm,
it innately reminded us of some old brewers, some
mm.
Springbank character. It's got that lactic, creamy
Yeah, yes,
oiliness
yes.
as well,
Yeah.
and a little bit of an Ardnamurchan note to it as well. And these are distilleries that would take that time as well. They're definitely your
Mm,
peers in the creamy, oily use of peat.
mm,
I think it says a lot about the maturity of your spirit that it's
mm.
showing that well at that youthful age.
Mm. So thank you. And in that point, that the our whiskey is quite different. Talking about peat, because that talking about the fermentation time is quite different. Because
Mm,
most Scotch whiskies, fermentation time is done within 3 days actually. So
yeah,
about 2 to 3 days. But for ours, we go out to 120 hours plus.
good.
So this one will give you those kind of fruity and creaminess. That will be another big difference, I should say. And because basically why we could do it is that we do the temperature control
Mm,
method, which is done
fantastic.
regularly done in shochu making. Because if you do the fermentation time long, it tends to ruin the wash. So that's why
Mm,
Scotch whiskey tends to make the fermentation much shorter. Or of course, some distilleries don't take the risk, but it tends to become shorter. But since we can do the temperature control, when it's cold, we make the washback warm, or vice versa, so that we can have the best condition for the yeast and lactobacteria. So that's why we could go super long fermentation, and that's why it comes that creaminess. And I think
yes,
that's going to be very difficult to find from Islay whiskey, because Islay whiskies, again, fermentation tend to be much shorter. And of course, it's
absolutely.
only Ardnamurchan and Ardnaho that's have the warm top. So I think it's quite different, I should say.
Completely unique, and yet reminds of so many more mainland peated whiskies in Scotland.
Ah,
There's a
yes.
wonderful. Oh, please go on.
Exactly. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
because it's spot on. This whiskey goes for mainland beats. It doesn't use
Mm.
island beats. So you got a perfect you got palate. Yes.
Fantastic, and that's answered a question there from Craig Goldsmith. So mainland peat sourcing. I've got a great question from Paul Marshall here,
Mm,
and this is throwing back a little bit to your whiskey geekery. As a whiskey lover,
mm.
as much as you are joining us from a distillery, I mean, I get to ask, what's the appeal of putting whiskies like this in front of communities like the Whiskey Club, in front of people who are geekier and really appreciate all of the fine details? Are you making whiskies for those opportunities, or are you just happening to make amazing whiskies that are perfect for those opportunities?
So for us, whiskey making, we have a mission. So we have no. So we call ourselves next generation Japanese whiskey from Kagoshima's Mellow Coast. So, so next generation, we talk about families, yeah, because 140 years history, and Kanosuke-san, yeah, he's the grandfather of our founder, yes, he implemented rice shochu. Rice shochu matured in a cask, and we wanted to
Mm,
promote shochus. He was the one who wanted to promote shochus to the world. And
mm,
also, we say Japanese whiskey because we make everything by ourselves. We don't mix with Scotch. Because why we
yes.
don't do it is that we want to promote shochu and Kagoshima. If we mix it with something else, we are not going to we are going to ruin our policy. And where we make it from Kagoshima. Yes. And
Mm,
also, we want to say we are next generation Japanese whiskey, because people tend to think that Japanese whiskey is a replica of Scotch whiskey.
mm,
But we wanted to bring something new. So that's why we make not just Scotch style. That's why we make Irish and bourbon style. So
mm,
those things I want to be telling, and this is always and these expressing these our motto policy is always fun part of my work. And apologies, I may not be answering your question exactly, but I hope you understand what I want to say.
No, I think that's a fantastic answer, and it bridges to a question that I've seen a few times in the comments. So I think Marcus has asked this question, and Ruben has asked this question here, which is a little bit about Japanese whiskey nomenclature and naming, where we've got pure malt, a very commonly used term in Japanese whiskey up until recently, and single malt, obviously, what you folks are using on bottles like this and bottles like this. So could you explain a little bit about where the Japanese whiskey industry has been over the last 5 years? Because it's an interesting story for anyone who's not heard it.
Yeah, so basically, of course, single malt, if it's a single malt, the definition would be basically the same as the Scotland, I should say. But the problem we have is that in Japan, talking about tax law, yes, buying a Scotch and bottling in Japan, that could be a Japanese whiskey. So that is simply it. Okay, that's but in the past, so we didn't care too much because there wasn't too much demand for whiskeys at the time. But now demand is booming. And so some whiskey distilleries, yes, decided to purchase Scotch, 18-year Scotch, and label it Japanese way, and said that it's Japanese with 18 years Japanese whiskey. But again, we don't. So apologies, I'm going back for my policy. We are next generation Japanese whiskey from Kagoshima. We say Japanese whiskey. Of course, this complies new Japanese whiskey rules. It must be made in Japan. It's matured over 3 years, and those are policies. So I don't want to say bad about other companies, Japanese company, but still there are some distilleries that mix Scotch or any other countries. I pay respect to the decision. Of course, at the end of the day, if it's tasty, it's good. But we can make good whiskey by ourselves, I believe.
Couldn't agree more. And I've got one last question on the peated whiskey, which is from a few of our members here. In setting out the production of a peated single malt, and explicitly a peated version of your spirit, how has it been received? Because a lot of Japanese whiskey lovers don't necessarily expect something showing a lot of peated character when they're trying the spirit. Is it falling into a lot of love, or is it still working itself out?
Yeah, to be honest, I think this whiskey is accepted by many whiskey lovers because basically this is not a peat bomb, isn't it? So this one it's a mellow peat. So that's why people who say that they don't like Scotch, let's say Octo something or Lager something, those peaty monsters. Yes, people who can't drink those, they said this is acceptable, and not just acceptable. They said they love it. So some people say this whiskey was the first, fell in love peated whiskey in Japan. So I'm sure. Really? I'm sure that I am sure that I believe that I'm not sure that most Australian people love peated whiskey, but I believe it's worth a try, I should say.
Yes, I completely agree, and that does let me very easily segue into, we've kept some bottles aside and we've put them live again tonight. So if anyone did miss out or has just opened this bottle and gone, oh my goodness, I need a second one, happy to tell you that we have popped those back up online for sale. So they're there to add into your account. But while we're talking about the distillery and the trajectory, there's always a collection of amazing questions coming through from members. So sorry, I can't name just one person who's asked this, but what's ahead for the distillery? You've produced some incredible core lines after doing some small bottlings for years. What does the next few years look like?
So, of course, like if we're talking about, let's say, talking about limited editions, yes, each year we have some theme we want to focus on. So, in the past limited edition, we wanted to make a kind of trial so that we could make our Korean single malt. And
Mm,
2023 was try to do peated whiskey, limited edition 2024. It's to try to focus on the possibility of Kyoto Postal and more shochu cask influence. And limited
mm,
edition 2025, which was released, press release was done recently, is trying to focus on ex-shochu cask and the legacy of Komasa family. Because it's going to be a double distillery, so it will be
mm.
containing the juice from single malt Kanosuke and Kyoto Postal, and majority would be using many type of shochu cask. That would be rice shochu, barley shochu, atmospheric distillation, vacuum distillations, and So I hope we could have that brought to the Abbey. So I should,
Ah, fantastic.
oops, I should be careful. Well, okay, but, but yeah, I'm sure there will be someone who will be tasting it in Australia.
No, that's very good to hear, and it does let me say as well. And I have to thank Jose at Casa de Vinos for organising this as well. So every Whiskey Club member is also entitled to a little discounted ticket, thanks to the Whiskey Abbey team. So if anyone wants to make sure they can go to Whiskey Abbey, please hop online. You'll be able to find the discount codes in your account perks. We're going to try to be there. We're working on a few things behind the scenes. Again, I shouldn't say too much because I don't know if it'll all come off. But at the very least, you'll be able to try some amazing whiskey with Tats by the sound of it. I get to ask you, Tats, and no one else is asking this. Well, actually, quite a few members are asking this, but this is from me. Um, are we going to work on anything just for the Whiskey Club members? I think we need to start working on it.
Okay, Matt. To be honest, my boss is watching this, so I can't be saying too much. But to be honest, I love Jose, so And to be honest, I have so many friends living in Australia. So if it's possible, I would love. So, boss, please let me. So that's what I have to say now.
I've got Jose laughing in a little camera just under the screen that I can see. I think he's mad at me for asking. Look, it's been amazing to sit with you and have a tasting. Before I start wrapping up, have you got any closing thoughts about the distiller or anything that you would like to leave the members with before we start saying goodbye?
So, of course, so I repeated my policy, like next edition, blah, blah, blah. So I hope you remember it. And I hope you go down to Japan and see the actual site. Because I think seeing our history and seeing the history, you will be understanding more. And so this label, this is the scenery you'll be seeing in Japan. And yes, you'll be expecting it. And after you buy this bottle and you take it back to your homeland, and if you see this bottle, you will get all the good days you spent in Kagoshima. So, okay, I hope to see you, team. Yes, I'll be in November, and I hope to say hello to the guys, and I hope to greet you, team, in Australia, in Japan one day. So let's keep in touch.
We would absolutely love to. And members, please, in the comments, put your hands up if you want us to organize a Japan tour for us and all the members to go along, because we would absolutely love to come down and see you. But for everyone watching along, I get to do the wrap up now. So, Kyle Plummer, thank you so much for participating and having a dram with us. You've won the little giveaway for the members watching along tonight. So the MX team will be in touch with that as soon as possible. And for everyone else watching along, two things. One, there's an incredible Whiskey of the Month coming up on Friday, so watch this space. Actually, three things. Incredible Whiskey of the Month coming along on Friday, so watch this space. Two, we've got the incredible Whiskey Abbey in November, so please log onto your accounts, find that little discount code, because we want to make sure as many Whiskey Club members are there to blow Jose's mind. And 3, this whiskey is absolutely incredible. And if anyone is thinking, my goodness, I need another bottle, it's hidden there for you as well. So other than that, we just get to raise an enormous glass. Thank you very much, Tats, for joining us. And thank you, members, for watching along throughout tonight as well. Cheers.
Okay, thanks, guys. Cheers.